Sure, I think there's always been a lot happening in Halifax. Halifax Pop Explosion. Halifax didn't get really, into weird music, I wouldn't say, until the last maybe 5 years, so.
Bad Vibrations, Long Long Long,
Pop Montreal,
Secret Colors, Cold Warps, Meat Curtains,
Friendly Dimension,
Pig.
Oh yeah, Pig. And just to clarify, we all play in Devenu, and then these guys play in Cousins. So the three of us make up two bands.
I was in a few hardcore bands and stuff after Sharp Like Knives, and then about 3 years after Sharp Like Knives broke up, I formed Cold Warps. I think that when the Obey convention started, I don't think that they realized what kind of an impact they were going to have.
Well, this was our 4th year, so I guess that means it started 3 years ago or something like that. 3 years ago, we had this band from California, Bastard Noise, that came to Halifax, which was really strange, so we built a festival around it for the first year, and we just kept going from there. People seemed interested in coming, and it's definitely grown quite a bit in the last 3 years. So
I do think that it did have a pretty big impact on the scene because it was bringing in a lot of experimental music. Just bringing that into the city really influenced a lot of people and kind of like put new ideas into people's heads.
Well, it started as a noise punk festival. That was kind of what we saw a real connection between noise music and punk music, in that they were both, anti-convention. They were challenging the audience. I thought that noise had a lot of the same ethics that punk maybe had when it started, before it became mall punk or whatever.
Like as weird as some of the bands in Halifax are, there are tons of super boring bands.
Joel Plaskett.
And as it is like a small town, like you get sick of those bands pretty quick. Like there's only so many shows, there's only so many venues. So you see those bands that are kind of normal doing singer-songwriter stuff, and it's like, why not do something different? It's just like it's not that hard.
But I also think there's only so many chords too, and I think both Devenu and Cousins both use a similar like Halifax music vocabulary. We still play guitar, drums, and bass. We don't. It's not by choice. We don't, or it's just what we know how to play. We don't use samplers or laptops or anything. And
Yeah, I think people here are really stubborn. I think that's something that's really good and cheap too. We're cheap. We don't have any money here, and we can only afford guitars. We can't afford sequencers.
It's always been a strong music city, there's always been a ton of bands here. I think, probably hundreds of bands here at any time. It's just always been like that. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's lack of other opportunities for people, or maybe it's because of the art school here.
Stuff is always closing downtown Halifax. That's kind of how it feels when you live here, is, something good pops up and lasts a couple years and then it closes. But at the same time, sometimes when I think about it, some of my favorite moments in Halifax music have been when there has been an extreme lack of venues. When there have been years where 5 or 6 of the sort of like staple venues have closed, then those have been the years where there have been like way more basement shows and house shows. The municipal support for the arts goes down. It's annoying and it's a shame, but sometimes that's kind of where you get the most innovative and kind of creative bursts in a city. So.
What happens in Halifax a lot is that like every few years, like a bunch of people will leave all at once. Like a couple bands, like all of these people that play, make up 3 or 4 bands, they'll all leave. It can be like frustrating at first, but I think it opens up a lot of room. So like having that gap, I think, was really exciting. People are kind of taking it into their own hands. They're like, this scene is terrible, let's make it better. And so there's like so many people I know that are in like 3 or 4 bands and working really hard to try to get things going, because there's that energy. That energy has come back somehow. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that Halifax has a really strong, like, artistic community. The music and art community are very very strongly tied together. One of the benefits of that is that you have a lot of people who know each other and who are working with each other in various combinations, and there's just a lot of kind of experimenting going on because everyone is so comfortable with each other.
I think just being in weird bands is just kind of natural for us because we're kind of weird dudes.
No, you see, we're kind of out of the loop, you know. Bands will come up as far as Montreal, but to come to Halifax is an extra 15 hours, you know.
Yeah, the word just has to spread that there's the audience here, and that people are really excited, and that you come out here and play music, you're inspiring a whole scene, not just like a legion of fans. You're actually helping the scene to survive.
Being removed from the rest of Canada, in a way, I think is like part of what makes Halifax's music scene pretty awesome, because, you know, since there are not as many bands touring through constantly, and since it is harder for our bands to kind of get out into the rest of the world, I guess the people who support music and the people who go to shows and stuff have become very loyal, because there's sort of this sense of urgency where, you know, like, people want it to exist and they want it to be awesome.